Hey everybody, it's Amani from Amani Reads and Reviews. Today is Friday and it is a very great Friday for me. So I hope you guys are enjoying your day and I hope you guys enjoy your weekend. So today we're going to be doing a book review and I made a slideshow that I want to share with you guys. It's going to be a outline of what we're going to be discussing regarding this book today. So you guys bear with me. I'll go ahead and put it on my screen so you guys can see it for today. All right. So, the book that we're reading, or what we'll be discussing today, is Very Sincerely Yours by Kerry Winfrey. And yeah, I hope you guys like this really cute PowerPoint. I think that it matches really well with the book because if you read the book, you'll know, the various little things that were in the book that kind of I'm trying to hint at. So, yeah. The outline of today's book is right here. I'm going to be discussing what the book is about. I'm going to talk about what I think about the characters and the characters' backgrounds. I'm going to discuss the book questions that are at the end of this book and also do a book rating. So, what is the book about? So, the book is mainly about a young girl named Teddy, who I thought was a doormat throughout her life, as well her relationship with the guy that she thought she would marry. His name is Richard, the guy she thought she would marry. He turned her life upside down, and she pretty much got out of this toxic relationship and started to hang out with her family and her friends again. And she also met a new love interest. So, this book was a lot, but I felt like it's something that related to a lot of young girls, especially, when you get out of high school, you start to go to college. A lot of us really don't know ourselves. And I felt like Teddy, this is pretty much the book was about her. She didn't know herself. So she kind of got herself into a relationship so she can kind of help another person because she felt like, oh, if I can help someone, then maybe my life will be fine. Or if I can put myself in somebody else's shoes and, work with them with what their goals are, then it's going to make me feel better about myself. And, a lot of girls, young girls can kind of relate to that, and it's never a good thing. So, after she broke up with this guy, she pretty much ran straight back to her friends. And, thank God she had really great friends because they took her back in like she was like a lost little puppy. And that's how she acted like for a long, long time. And even she met a new love interest, which, was kind of how the story kind of develops, and it develops in a really great way. And yeah, we'll see in the next slide. So, what do I think about the characters in the background? So, Teddy, she's, misunderstood. She's a doormat. She had a really rough childhood. She inserts her way into people's lives. She's too kind but powerful. So, what I mean about this is she kind of had a really rough childhood. She was a rebel. So, she did some things in her life where her parents always kind of questioned where she was and what she was doing and everything. And there was an incident that happened in the book where her and her friend went to go see an R-rated movie. It was like a scary movie they went to see. Her friend was opposed. She definitely did not want to see it. But Teddy, before she came home, she broke in her arm and she started crying. She ran home. Well, she was with her bike and walked home with her bike with a broken arm. So her and her mom and her father were having a really huge argument, and it pretty much was the reason why they divorced. They separated. The dad left, never to really see the girls again, which is her and her sister. So after that day happened, I feel like that's what fueled Teddy to be who she was in this book. Somebody who she pretty much blamed herself for why her mom and her dad split up. She said, well, she thought if she were to be, good, that her dad wouldn't have left. So that's one part about Teddy where she just keeps thinking it's her fault for why certain things happen in her life. And she doesn't realize that, things just happen, and, you still have to be yourself, and, you can't really control what other people do. And even although she was with a guy who was controlling her, she felt that, oh, well, if I can do this for him, in a way I have control, in which she really didn't. But what makes her powerful is the fact that she said, she's not going to give up. And she made this little cute list to talk about, to kind of express what she wants to do in her life to make her life better for herself. So, yeah, that's pretty much what Teddy is. Now, Everett is her love interest, and um, he's completely different from Teddy in an aspect of he's not trying to make someone or form someone into his little creation. He just wants everybody to seemingly be themselves around him. So Everett is a hard worker. He knows what he wants. He put his career first. He's open minded and he's down to earth, and he has a good upbringing. His parents really allowed him to do what he wanted in his life. They didn't force him to do anything. They were really loving and caring for him. And that is how Everett really thrived. He's a puppetrist in this book. He did not go to school to, become a doctor or a lawyer. He went to school to do what he wanted to do. He loved puppets. He loved everything about puppets, and that's what he based his career on. And for him, it was successful for him. He made a great local show, and he was even able to kind of go out of his local town to build a bigger production of his show. But he ended up meeting Teddy. He doesn't, when him and Teddy actually start to date, he doesn't try to force her to, dress a certain way or act a certain way. Even when Teddy, it was a part in the book where Teddy was going to help him make a new puppet because he was trying to figure out, oh, I don't know what to do. He didn't just like tell her, well, you can do this for me and I'll take it. He was just he was willing to accept what she wanted to, what she did for him, but not in a way, oh, you can come on the set and you help me out, because Teddy really wanted to have something separate for herself so she can do something for herself, so it wouldn't feel like she was kind of with her old boyfriend or whatever. So Kirsten and Eleanor are her friends, and I really love her friends. They're really great friends. I wish I had great friends like these two. So I don't know if her name was Kirsten or Christian. You know, I kind of never really knew how to pronunciate her name. But Christian and Eleanor are good friends. They're really encouraging to Teddy to be herself. They are the life of the party. They're really confident and they can stand on their own. They don't let anybody run over them. And that's what I really like about them, because it allowed Teddy to kind of like get out of her shell and be herself too. They had a part of the book when they went to a club, to a karaoke club, and they had some drinks. They had a great time. They sang a song which was super cute because Teddy and Everett, they ended up meeting each other without even knowing. If you read this book, you would already know that Teddy and Everett, they kind of, met each other through email. So Teddy watches his show, the puppetry local show, and Everett never knew her until she emailed Everett. So Everett always gets emails from like small kids, and he kind of brings them on his show, like whatever little problem they have. Let's say if they have a problem about anger, he'll use one of his puppets and talk about anger. So what kind of threw him off was that an older woman, which is Teddy, emailed him about figuring out what she wants in her life, what special thing, or what is the special thing that will make her special. So that's how they started to communicate. And like right off the bat, Everett seemed like he was really interested or even fascinated by Teddy. So with that background that I just told you guys, that's kind of how they met at the club. And Everett didn't really know who he was talking to, but even then we can just tell that he just knew there was something about her that he really liked. But Teddy, being drunk Teddy, she kind of throws up on the guy. And, that was that. They went to Taco Bell and he went to hang out with his friend. And he ends up talking about it in the email the next day. So it's really sweet. I hope you guys watch, read this book, because a lot of the stuff in this book was really cute. Um, so also something about Everett, he has had relationships in the past that did not work out. His last relationship, I guess the girl figured they would get married as well, but he was just always busy with work. And it wasn't like he didn't love the girl, but he was just always busy with his career. He didn't know how to like put both of them into separate little day slots. So, you have your girlfriend and then you have your job. So even when he started to date Teddy, his friends were kind of telling him about his last relationships, like, you kind of have to make the effort to, be a good boyfriend. So yeah, now Teddy's mom and her sister. Teddy's mom, I will say, really pushed Teddy and her sister. I believe her name was Sophia. She always pushed them to do better in their lives, because the mom herself, she struggled a lot. She had two jobs, and her dad left. So their dad left. So she really had to pick up the pace for two people and raise her daughters. Raise her daughters the way that they deserve to be raised. So the mom just always threw like different ideas for college at the girls. Like there was a time where she mentioned to Teddy, "Hey, I know you went to school for your, little English, and you work at the toy shop, so maybe you should get into business." And Teddy just kept hesitating because that wasn't really something she wanted to do. Her sister is a lawyer. She's like, she has kids and a husband, and she's kind of like her mom's like, star child. But in the same time, we're going to start talking about Sophia. She didn't really like that she kind of rushed her life in that aspect. She tried to encourage Teddy to find what she wants in her life, and that's what everybody's trying to throughout this book, encouraging her to want what she wants in her life. So Sophia and Teddy kind of had a heart to heart, basically saying, Sophia was letting her know that, I was trying to be there for you. I wasn't trying to, act like she was like better. She just wanted, I felt like Sophia wanted to be her sister in a way, because, she allegedly has this perfect life, but at the same time, she's like, hey, I always wanted to be a teacher. I always wanted to do certain things. And, now her being a mom, she wanted to, focus on her family. And, her job was just something that was training for her being a lawyer. Like that's training. So, yeah, I can kind of relate to Sophia's role being like the oldest sibling. You always have that responsibility, to do certain things that, your parents just expect for you to do. But, you know that there's things that you want to do in your life, but you can't do it because you have that responsibility. So I feel like both of the girls, they lived their lives for their mom, so their mom wouldn't stress so much. So, second slide. Richard. So we're gonna talk about, Richard. Yuck. Okay, so Richard is an entitled a-hole. He thought that Teddy was useless. Teddy worked at a toy shop, and he was never impressed by her little toy shop job. He thought that it was not to par with his medical training, him going to school to become a medical doctor. He always thought that she was just kind of like beneath him. Um, he I put this like he's most likely to drop out of medical school. I said that only because people like Richard, he has this entitlement issue where he thinks that he's smarter than everybody. He thinks that people are beneath him, and he won't take corrections of any case. And when you're going to school for these medical professions, you have to, step aside yourself and learn from people who've been doing it for years, and not put your foot in your mouth. And essentially, Richard puts his foot in his mouth, not only with Teddy, people around him, because there was two incidents that happened in the toy shop where he kind of thought that he was just better than everybody. And then also how he treats Teddy in general. Like, he just feels like because how Teddy is, she should want to take care of him, and that's just how he is, and he's a a-hole, and I'm just so happy that Everett punched him in his face. I'm just so happy that he decided to do that because he came over there to try to win Teddy back towards the end of the book. Um, and it was crazy because Teddy and Everett ended up kind of like breaking up in a way because Teddy just really didn't know what she wanted, and of course she really loved Everett, or cared about him, but she just really didn't find herself. So she's like, hey, I don't want to jump back into a relationship. So Everett came there to kind of express his love and this and that, and then Richard was there too. So I really did not expect that when I was reading that. I was like, what? I was just not expecting that. And then he came his goofy butt there talking about, oh, I miss you, Teddy, like blah blah blah. And then my whole thing was, I thought that she was beneath you. I thought you said that she works in a toy shop, like she's nothing. Like, why are you still there? Because even in the book, he dated another girl. There's this super cool thing that they did in the book that reminded me of Hallmark movies. So in some Hallmark movies, they have like a fall festival for their fall movies. If you guys ever watch Harvest Moon, they had a fall festival. I love that movie. That's like my favorite Hallmark movie. But they had this little festival, and Richard showed up with some girl. And Teddy, she had this little costume on. I think she was like some type of like, if y'all watch Mean Girls, like how they dress, a sexy mouse. That's basically how she dressed like. And it was because her friends told her to dress like that. Like, it wasn't something that Teddy wanted to do, but because she wanted to, she has this list and she really wants to express herself, do something new, do something different. That's why she decided to dress like that. So long story short, Richard was there, and she saw him with the new girl, and they break up, and then he comes his little goofy bug back to the store to try to win her back. And then he tries to like tussle with Everett, and then obviously Everett punches him in the face, and then they had a little talk. And yeah, that was about that. So that was about it. And that was about that. So now we're going to talk about Josie and Carlos. So these are also two people I really enjoyed throughout this book because I felt like Josie was a second mom to Teddy. Josie was really, really kind to Teddy. This always had her back, always encouraged Teddy to do different things and not to hold on to stuff that doesn't really matter. So there was a part in the book when Josie was talking about her and her husband. Her husband passed away, and they really wanted a child, and she was saying like how Teddy is kind of like a kid to her, like a daughter to her. And she said that, although they wanted a child, they didn't mess up their relationship, because she was saying that, things happen. Essentially, that's what she was saying. Like, things happen, but you can't just like completely stop it from happening. There's love in your life, experience the love, basically what she was saying. So she offered Teddy to have the toy shop, and it was something that Teddy had to think about. Like, she even had dinner with her families and kind of talked about whether or not she said that she was going to take on the job to do the toy shop, and she kind of talked over it with her family and also talked to her sister about it. But um, she kind of, I guess she kind of like, I don't think she really, well, I don't remember she took the job, because she said she did mention about Carlos. And Carlos is a really sweet guy. He kind of reminds me of a friend that I had in high school. This friend had autism, and I was in like a best buddies program with like, with several other people that I was friends with, and we kind of help kids with, we'll help the students who had like different disabilities and everything. And the guy in my high school, he was really good with piano. And I thought of Carlos as the guy that I went to high school with, because Carlos was just very knowledgeable about all the toys that were at the shop. He can tell you about everything about a toy, the history of the toy, why it was made, how it was made, this and that and the third. I really enjoyed his character because like when he came to work, it was about business. He was just really quiet, And Teddy, I really like Teddy because she tried to add him into the conversation all the time. And she finally realized what really clicks with Carlos is talking to him about a toy or talking to him about whatever's in the shop and he knows about. And that was how her and Carlos decided to be good friends, because even in the throughout the book, she kept saying, you know what, I'm going to make this guy my friend. Like, they're going to be friends. So I really, really like that part. I like these two characters. And then Natalie. Natalie is Everett's best friend. He always comes to her for advice, and she always gives out advice. She just kind of lets him know about like most situations in his life and what he can improve to do better, or she just kind of looks out for him. She was definitely someone who mentioned that when he was talking to Teddy throughout the emails, it was like the first time in a long time where he felt, where he felt happy and he looked happy. And I really like Natalie because she was also the one to kind of push him out of his shell to, get him to the nightclub with, when he, secretly met Teddy, but he didn't know it. And Gretel. Gretel is Everett's sister, his baby sister. She's 12, and Everett's probably somewhat maybe in his late 20s. And she loves her brother. She absolutely loves her brother. She is pretty wise for her age. Her parents kind of let her do whatever she wants to do and, reasonably do what she wants to do. Because, when you have parents who are just like, okay, she can do whatever, they're not really the best parents. No, her parents love her. Like, her parents let her explore the world and her eyes. She loves to read. I really love her name. I think that she has a pretty cool name, Gretel. Like, I love old school names because, like, when you're born and you give your child an old name, like Gretel, or anything like that, you are already like, they already have a personality. They have a personality. They stand their ground. They've been here before, and like those type of names are always pretty special. So it was a part in the book where I realized that, hey, Gretel is still a child. Although she's wise, when she found out that her brother may be leaving, she was very like distraught by that, just cried, and she was just so sad about it. And that's when we kind of realized that, she is a kid. She has a soft spot, and her soft spot is her brother. She loves her brother. So I thought that was really sweet. Okay, so the book questions. Let me go ahead and talk about these book questions. So I read this book. I have the book. I have a paperback of the book, but I also have the book on my Kindle. So I'm gonna go ahead and look up these questions. All right. So question number 1. Everett has always known what he wants to do with his life, while Teddy has never identified what she's passionate about. Do you relate more to Everett or to Teddy? Okay, so sorry, I had to clear my throat and everything. I relate more to Teddy. I feel like Teddy's role is more similar to like my lifestyle, how I grew up. I grew up in a single parent household, so I know the stress of being, seeing your mom go through life without a partner. Um, I know how it feels to kind of feel like it's your fault for why your life is a certain way, or even why your parents' life is a certain way, having to make sure everything is right in the household and making sure that you're on your best behavior so you won't have any stressors, regarding your parents. And Teddy, that's how her life was. She lived her life like that. She lived her life to appease everybody else so they won't stress. And while Teddy was pretty much breaking under for herself, like she didn't know anything about herself. I mean, if you asked her what her favorite color was, she would say, I don't know. That's how she was. She just did not know herself. And that's something I can relate to. Like, I'm just now trying to like learn myself, know what I want as a wife and a mother. And honestly, I'm still working on that, as like women do. We work on that throughout our lives. It's not something you can wake up with and saying, oh, hey, I want to love myself. It's just it's a everyday life thing that we all have to work with. So I relate more to her because, I do have to find that, find what makes me happy, just like she did, just like, many other women do. All right. So question number 2. Teddy decides to do one thing every day that scares her. What kind of things have you done that scared you? Did you end up enjoying them? Um, I would say like public speaking, even doing this PowerPoint now, that's something that is continuously hard for me to do. I normally just read or write a lot. So when I do speak, it's sometimes very muffled, or, sometimes it's just really difficult for people to, understand me because I'm always quiet. And I really don't mean to be. It's just something, it's just like a trait of mine. I'm just always quiet unless I need to speak about something. And I was like that in school. Like with my friends, I was like loud and crazy and whatever. But when it came to me going in front of people and talking, it was just really hard for me to do that. So, me just even expressing myself on, social media, trying to get myself out there with a channel that I'm, a booktube channel, that I'm really passionate about, that is something that I'm doing that is scary. And, I'm enjoying it. So I hope you guys enjoy me as well and bear with me with, all of my errors when I'm speaking. I would really appreciate that. So, question number 3. Getting dumped by Richard pushes Teddy to make some big changes in her life. Do you think she would have made these changes if Richard hadn't broke up with her? Have you ever gone through a seemingly negative experience that changed your life for the better? Um, so the first part of this question, I really believe that Teddy wouldn't have changed a thing if she stayed with Richard. And I say that because um, if she would have stayed with Richard, she would have married Richard and they would have probably had a lot of children. And she would have been at a time, probably in her middle age, where she was just contemplating her life and realizing at that point in her life she made a mistake. But she's like 3 kids in and she's with the guy who doesn't treat her right. So I really do not believe she would have changed. And if she did, it would have been too late because she would have already started to live her life with the guy that who didn't treat her right. And I'm just glad that she was able to get out of that relationship. Like Richard, being the a-hole he was and broke up with her, was about the best thing that, could have happened to her, honestly. And, I know how that stuff feels to be with somebody who treats you like crap, and not even in a relationship aspect, but just to, have friendships in general and they just treat you like crap. They use you, they think that you're beneath them. Nobody wants to be in a situation like that. It sucks. And, you know, when you get out of relationships like that, it is life changing. It does change you for the better because you're able to kind of grasp now that, dang, this person really treated me like crap. And I was thinking about marrying this guy, or oh, I was thinking about being friends with this person for years. It just puts in perspective that you dodged a bullet. And that's something that we should all be thankful for when we get out of these crappy relationships. And yes, it's going to take time for you to realize that, but ultimately, like, the decisions that you make is for a good reason, and everything that happens is for a reason. And although it takes some time for us to know that, it's okay. So, question number 4. Teddy and Everett get to know each other via email before they meet in person. Have you ever started a relationship with someone online? What do you think that benefits are getting to know someone this way? So I have never had like a relationship online with a romantic relationship online. I would never do that because I'm the type of person who really needs to meet somebody in person, because I like to gauge people in that way to know who they are as people. You can't really do that online when you can't see them. And people can talk and talk, but I'm like really about actions and everything. So just because you can like talk or write really well doesn't mean that you're really that type of person. Fortunately for this couple, Teddy knew Everett through a TV screen. But if this would have went bad for Everett, that would have been a worse story because, like Everett kind of seems like a nerdy guy. And, they call him like a, sexy, was it a sexy Mr. Rogers, but I feel like, he was just really nerdy. And like when you think about that stereotype, these type of guys can easily get, tricked by, really pretty girls or whatever. But I think that their relationship worked out really well. They had a really cute little friendship going, and when they met each other, it was like it was transferred from the emails in real life. And sometimes that stuff can happen. I just don't think that is for me, but it's definitely beneficial to meet somebody online who shares the same values as you. You guys have been speaking for a long time and you can actually see their faces. As long as it's not a catfish situation, if you guys are, mutually respectful to each other, you share the same values you share, even if you guys are saying, seeing each other face to face, I don't think that it's really a problem, but it could definitely be a problem. So, question number 5. If you were in Everett's position and had a chance to go to New York for a job like his, would you have gone? What might have changed your mind? So Everett did get an opportunity to go to New York to pursue his puppetry dreams of, making his local show like a mass production. All 50 states can see it, right? But because he met Teddy, he kind of realized that, this being with Teddy was just the better thing to do, and that he can still work from his current location, but he would be able to also stay with Teddy, but still have his dream. So, what I'll say, I'm just going to just speak realistically. In cases like this, things are going to happen for a reason, and they're going to turn out the way that they need to turn out for that situation. So I really can't just say, Everett, yeah, you should have just taken a job, and whatever happened to Teddy is her thing. That's her problem. So I definitely can't say that, only because with my life, it was kind of similar to that. Like my husband, when he was in he went to a city, and we were like 2 hours away or whatever. So, I thought it was kind of the end for us. I was just like, okay, whatever. But, I wasn't like, okay, whatever. I was really upset. I was crying. Like, I was real sad. But it seemed like every 3 months we would like meet up with each other again. And all this for me to say is sometimes in relationships, other people outside that relationship don't understand why, somebody can connect the way they do. But within that relationship, we realized that, this was meant to happen. This was supposed to happen that way. So although Everett had this great opportunity to physically go to New York and have his great production, he worked out a plan with, him, Natalie, and the producers in New York for him to kind of stay where he is and kind of, work where he needs to work. And also, it wasn't even New York, New York. It was like New York, Ohio, or whatever they already lived in. So he was technically still there. Like he was technically still able to, stay where he was. So it wasn't really like, I mean, it worked out. It worked out the way it was supposed to work out, which is great. Okay. Um, Question number 6. Teddy finds comfort in watching Everett's place, even if she is in the target audience. Do you have a show, film, or book that's a metaphorical security blanket? Would you ever want to meet the creator? Um, so I have quite a few shows that are security blankets for me. I really love comedy, and like that just kind of helps me get through a really stressful day. So I like various shows. Like I love The Office. I love Parks and Recreations. I love It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and a new show, Abbott Elementary. Those are like really great shows for me. I watch them on repeat. Especially like the one I recently started watching on repeat. It's Abbott Elementary. I really just love those shows. Also, What We Do in the Shadows. That's like my top favorite show. So I've been watching those two shows on repeat, What We Do in the Shadows and then Abbott Elementary, because it's just something that really makes me happy when I'm having really tough days. It just really makes me happy. And as far as the creators, I mean, I would love to meet the characters themselves. You know how when we read these books, it's a character we fall in love with. That's essentially what I would love to meet. I would love to meet the characters of these shows because the main star, or the main character in Abbott Elementary, her name is Jeanette, or Janine. Sorry, her name is Janine, and um, I feel like I'm very much a Janine type of person. Like when I was in high school and everything, I was always like that really, over the top friend who's always like did extra, even like, working or going to school is just, I was just always extra. And then people just kind of thought that I was really irritating, although I had a good purpose of what I was doing. And I really relate to that. You just being really passionate about something, especially work and school. And sometimes people just think it's like you don't need to do that, but when you do it, it helps everybody in return. I can relate to that. Also, Leslie from Parks and Recreations, her character is definitely like that. She's over the top, but she cares a lot about her work and her friends. And I can relate to that type of comedy because it's like, the typical irritating girl, but she's like, she means well. So yeah, those are just shows that I really enjoy. And they're a security blanket for me because, during this pandemic that we just came out of, or, it's just really good to have something that you love and that you can enjoy. So, question number 7. Everett and Teddy had very different childhoods. How did you think their backgrounds and families affect their confidence in their own abilities and their determination to follow their dreams? So, with Teddy, with her background, I don't believe that she was in a background in an environment where it was able for her to thrive. She was just a doormat to everybody. She just always lived her life for other people, and her mom pushed her a lot. And her mom pushed her to kind of protect her, but in the same way she kind of made it like, made her in a situation where she end up with a guy like named, like Richard. So it wasn't really anything where she could have been creative in her life, and she was able just to, have that support from her parents, because she pretty much realized, she thought that she was the reason why her parents were getting divorced, and she was the reason why her life was the way it was, and why her mom was the way she was. So she wasn't able to thrive in that. That's a terrible environment to thrive in. It's a terrible environment to raise a kid in, where the kid is just so like scared to live their own life, and like so hurt that, what, it's my fault that everything happens in my life. And that's the opposite of Everett. Everett grew up with very caring parents. He grew up with, allowing, his parents allowed him to do whatever he wanted to do. They allowed him to be himself and love himself, and he didn't have to question what he wanted to do when he went to college. He knew what he wanted to do, and even with his career, he knew what he wanted to do, and he wanted to be, he wanted to work with puppets. He wanted a show with puppets, and luckily it happened. It was really great for him because he had a really popular show. And I think that that's pretty cool. Like, I definitely want to raise my kid to like that, like allowing him to be himself, allowing him to love what he does, and not trying to force what I believe he should do on him. And I feel like parents should want that for their kids, and it's not saying, oh, don't, stop, don't be a parent, because, with their youngest child, Gretel, she's kind of like, she does what she wants to do and she's homeschooled, but they allowed her to figure out herself while also, loving her the way she is and working around her. And, that type of parenting, that's a really great way to raise, emotionally secure adults, and like not adults who crumble and crack like Teddy did. Like, You don't want to be 24, 25 years old and still figuring out what you want to do in your life. Like, that's what, I can relate to that. And obviously that just happens to all adults in general, but it shouldn't be because you had a rough childhood. It should just be because, oh, I tried everything. Now I want to try something else. So I'm going to read the last question. I do apologize. My Kindle is not acting right. Okay. So, question number 8. How do Everett and Teddy change their trajectories? What do you think the future holds for their relationship? So, with Everett, what really changed for him was if he never met Teddy, I'm pretty much sure he would have went to New York, taken that job, and really had a successful life, career wise. But I feel like for relationships, it wouldn't have worked for him because if he wouldn't have met Teddy and Teddy wouldn't have, emailed him, he would have been like, straight up worried about his job. Although he had feelings of wanting something more, wanting a relationship with someone, he really would have not, taken the time to be with anybody. And then for Teddy, if she wouldn't have met Everett and stayed with Richard, if Richard decided, I'm going to still treat her like crap, but I'm going to marry her, she definitely would have had a crappier life, way crappier than how she was raised. But she would have just stayed with somebody who was just never going to allow her to thrive the way she needed to. She was just, she probably would have just kept getting knocked up and then having kids who also felt just like Teddy, and then walking around seeing her mom just sad and miserable, and her, and then the boys would probably be similar to their dad. It was just would be a toxic environment. So them meeting each other, and um, Teddy and Richard just breaking up, that was like the best thing that happened to them. And just them meeting together. If you guys watched, read the epilogue or epilogue or whatever, that they also they got engaged. They had a big cute little party with their families and friends, and they ended up getting engaged. So obviously, yeah, their relationship worked out really well for them. Um so in their futures, I feel like, hypothetically speaking, Teddy probably would eventually start working with Everett, with the show, but he would allow her to have say in what she wanted. And even if it wasn't really closely correlating with his show, she would find something, that both of them can kind of connect to, and she would love and also he would love. And also I feel like Teddy would definitely try to do all the things in her list that made her who she was. I would think that she would do everything every day, like going to the sewing class she went to and she learned how to do the pillow, going to jazzercise, speaking up more for herself, and not TPing people's house. Though that wasn't really a part of her list, but it was just something that her and her friends did to Richard, which he kind of deserved. Although I was reading this during the pandemic, it was not a good idea to use that toilet paper to do that, but it's still pretty funny. So yeah, those are all the questions for today. Um, Sorry guys. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this presentation that I did. I worked really hard on it, and honestly, if you guys know, if you have read this book, I want you guys to leave in the comments if you thought that this PowerPoint kind of matched what the book was about. And I really hope that I explained the book enough so you guys would be able to know exactly what I was talking about. And I hope you guys have a great day. Also, forgot about that. See, look, me talking overly talking. So I will give this book an 8 because I think this book was very realistic. All the characters were definitely realistic. Richard was a realistic a-hole type of guy. If you've ever been with a really terrible guy, he fits all the characteristics of Richard. And then, Everett, he fits the characteristics of a guy who is so obsessed with his work, he forgets about what love is, and then he meets somebody, so he's realistic too, having a good boyfriend. People can relate to that as well. And then Teddy is like an all-American type of girl who goes through crap with boyfriends, and thinking that you're just useless and not loving yourself enough. Like, we all go through that, especially when we're young, and just having family and friends to kind of get us out of that funk. It just allows us to thrive better, and that's something that we can relate to. Everybody can relate to that, male, woman, whatever. We can all relate to that, and that's why I get this rating an 8. I enjoyed this book thoroughly, just smiling my butt off at this book. I think that the author did a great job, and I do have two of her other books that I'm definitely going to be discussing later on. I am currently reading some other content, but I am definitely going to go ahead and start reading her other books. So, anywho, thanks for listening, everybody, and you guys tell me what you think about this PowerPoint and also the book towards the end. And I hope you guys like, comment, and subscribe. And you guys have a wonderful weekend and have a lovely Monday. And I'll see you guys next Friday. All right. Bye, everybody.